After losing his brother John to an overdose, Jim Belushi worked hard to keep his friend Chris Farley from meeting the same fate. Unfortunately, Farley had a little too much in common with his late comedy hero. The Saturday Night Live cast members are no strangers to drugs and partying. In the show's early years, drug use and drinking were fairly common, and the tradition of throwing a star-studded late-night after-party following the live broadcast persists to this day. It seemed that the showrunners quickly accepted this raucous aspect of their program, as many early SNL sketches, and even some current ones, heavily referenced drug use. One of the most infamous cast members to embody this aspect of the early days of SNL was the late, great John Belushi.
I've got all night. Watch this. Live from New York, it's Thursday night!
Belushi's outlandish characters and musical talent brought him fame and success both on and off the show, with his starring roles in the Blues Brothers and National Lampoon's Animal House cementing his place in comedy history forever. However, as shown in the 2020 documentary Belushi, his drug use, sexist attitudes, and fights with SNL creator Lorne Michaels were hard to overlook.
I'm staying in New York.
You're very fortunate, folks.
I died at a very young age here in New York City.
John Belushi's cocaine addiction throughout the mid-1970s grew to a dependency on multiple drugs, including the painkillers he took after a knee injury. He did sober up in 1980, but sadly relapsed just 1 year later. Fellow comedian and SNL legend Chris Farley grew up idolizing Belushi, and the two did have many things in common. They both grew up in the Midwest and got their start at Second City in Chicago. Farley's admiration for Belushi came through in his sketches, which were also filled with high-volume, larger-than-life characters.
Now you kids are probably asking yourselves, hey Matt, how can we get back on the right track?
John Belushi's brother, Jim Belushi, was also a cast member on Saturday Night Live from 1983 to 1985. Like his brother, he also dealt with alcohol addiction and butted heads with the show's staff. However, according to IndieWire, Jim grew to recognize that he had a problem and changed his attitude in order to get his job back after being fired by a producer. Jim soon came to the harsh realization that Chris Farley had many parallels to his brother, including a drug addiction. On the Fly on the Wall podcast, Jim told host Dana Carvey and David Spade that Farley talked to him about John often, recalling how he would warn Farley to watch his step. Jim recalled telling his friend, "You gotta stop chasing him, Chris. He's gone. You can't follow his track. The guy did drugs. He's dead. You can't follow him with the drugs to find out who he was." Despite Jim Belushi's warnings, Chris Farley continued to idolize the late comedian. Jim tried to lead by example and told Farley that he had started consuming more drugs when his brother died, but eventually managed to quit. Still, despite his repeated advice, Jim understood that Farley's love for John coincided with the nature of addiction, saying, "You know, addiction is an obsessive behavior, and it just extended into obsessing about John." Later on in the podcast, David Spade explained how Farley would even wear clothes previously worn by John Belushi that Saturday Night Live had kept in its wardrobe department. Farley's friend and fellow cast member Adam Sandler also urged him to sober up as well. In his Netflix special 100% Fresh, Sandler sings about warning Farley that he would end up dying young like his hero, and that Farley said he was all right with that.
You have to listen if you're gonna get to what I want! Okay, now a little more, please. Keep going. You got it there!
Despite the fear that Farley's friends felt for him as he descended into the grips of addiction, they also celebrate his talent and sensitive side. Singing about Farley, Adam Sandler also recalled that the actor was an emotional person who loved his family, and even calls Farley the funniest person he's ever known. On the Fly on the Wall podcast, Jim Belushi echoed this sentiment, stating how much he loved Chris and felt connected to him, a feeling that seemed to be shared by everyone who knew him. In an eerie and tragic coda to the story, both Farley and John Belushi died from drug overdoses at the same age. They were just 33 years old.